Hi guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing something different, and we are going to be talking about relationships. Let's get into it. So to start this video, I would just like to get across that I am no expert about relationships. All I do is observe my own issues and the problems that I've had in the past, and also what other people, their problems that they've had as well. Gathering stories from other people's experiences. Now, this is not going to be a 100% total relationship covering of everything that you need to do right, because to be honest, that could be 300 videos, and I may get to it eventually. But to start off with, these are probably the main things that you need to get sorted first, that I feel you need to get sorted first before you get into a relationship, before you start to figure out, do I want to be in a relationship? Who would be the type of person for me, and why? Why get into a relationship? And these type of things. So I'm going to start off with the first 5 things, and this will be a 2-part series of how to have a successful relationship. And these are broad, very general, but I see a lot of other people and myself, I've had these issues, and I just thought this could help some people. So let's not stuff around, let's get straight into it. So number 1 is understanding yourself. So you need to understand who you are before you can be in a relationship with someone else. Why is that? Pretty much because if you don't know who you are, how can you be true to someone else? I don't think you can be, because you need to know about who you are first. And that's easy to say, but people ask, they go, well, how do I get to know myself? And probably the easiest way to do that is to face your fears and your difficulties. What are the things that you struggle to do? What are the things that you're scared of? Because once you start to push through those barriers of who you think you're not, you'll start to find who you are. So say, for instance, one day true story. One day I was working at my job and I was feeling a bit stagnant. I was like, where am I going? What am I doing with my life? I need to figure out who I am. So I booked myself in to go skydiving. Just like that. I booked myself in, I went up on the weekend and went skydiving, and I didn't have a fear about that as such, but I wanted to see if I could do it. Am I confident enough to book my own plane ticket to jump on and jump out of a plane? And I did it. No, I did it. And then when that plane landed, when my feet hit the ground, it was a reflection of myself as like, maybe I don't even know what I can do. And that built me up as a person. So you've got to start pushing your fears. You need to get around other people, different cultures. You need to learn the world, learn yourself, because when you get lost, you need to rely on yourself to be the type of person you want to be, and also find out who you are. Can you talk to strangers? Can you meet someone you've never spoken to before and have a conversation and build a relationship with that person? Can you do that? And once you realize that you can, you start to open up your boundaries of who you are as a person, and you really start to understand yourself. You've also got to think about your past. Who have you been in the past? And is that who you are in the future? Because the past shapes who you are. All your problems, all your mistakes, things that you beat yourself up about unconsciously, sometimes you don't even know. You need to be aware of those things. Because when you start being with someone else or wanting to be with someone else, those things are going to stand out, and you've got to be aware of them as a person. So number 1, that's just the beginning, but number 1 is you've got to understand you and who you are, and have an idea about the future you want too. You've got to have an understanding about what do I want out of life? Because when you go to find someone else, you've got to understand is that person going to be a part of that future, or are they straight away on a different path? You really need to assess, and you've got to know you. You've got to know who you are, and you've got to know where you're going. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Things are going to change. I can guarantee that. So number one, face your fears, face your difficulties, find yourself first, have a vision for your future, travel when you can. And it doesn't mean go overseas. It means it could just be getting out of your town. It could just be walking into a different state and meeting some people, going out for dinner by yourself, spending time alone, reflecting on the past and figuring out the future. That is number one, understand yourself. Okay, so number two is don't rush in. Do not rush into a relationship. I've seen so many people do this in the past, and I myself have done this. I thought to myself, I don't want to be alone. I'm never going to be alone. I don't want to be alone no matter what. I need someone. You're a little bit interesting. I'm just going to be with you. And then you put the line in the sand and then you go straight after that person. Do not do that. I can tell you one thing from my experience and from other people's experiences is snap emotional decisions are usually wrong and harmful in the long run. And let me explain why. Because you need time to evaluate yourself and how you feel about this person, but you also need time to evaluate the other person. You need to learn their life. You need to know who their parents are. What are their morals? What are their ethics? What's this person? What do they do for a living? How do they react under pressure? What happens when things go wrong? How do these people assess what they do? And do they make good decisions when they have pressure on them? That's probably one of the biggest things, because when things start to go wrong, you start to see who this person really is and yourself. When things go wrong is when you find out who you are. So if you're making snap emotional decisions, they're usually wrong with anything, not just relationships. So you need to be very, very careful. And I say with my emotions, I'm probably 70% logical and 30% emotional. The emotion is there when I need it, but 70% of the time I'm logical, and that balances at times. But I feel that if you let your emotions take over, if you meet someone for the first time and you see them and the first thing you say is, I love that person, and you don't know anything about them, that is a serious, serious concern. And it's not so much in the short term. You might be fine for 5 or 6 months. I've done that. You might be fine for 12 months. But what happens in the future when you're 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the track and things are changing, but the person's not changing with you, or they are changing and you can't change with them? You get the issues. So don't rush in. The best thing I can tell you is take your time. Take your time to learn the person. Spend 6 months, 12 months, however long it takes before you decide that you want to be in a relationship with this person, because you need to test them as much as they need to test you, because you want to make sure you're compatible and that you have the same understanding of life, or at least a little bit of common ground to work from. So number 2 is do not rush in, ever, ever. All right, number 3, we're smashing them out here. Number 3 is humans are not perfect. Do not go looking for perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. You need to understand this. Whoever told you in the past that you need to look for the perfect person and the perfect person is out there somewhere for you, they were half correct. The perfect person might be out there for you. There's 10 billion people on earth, whatever. The perfect person may be out there, but the chances of you finding them could be minimal. But no one's perfect. That person who said just wait for the right person, the perfect person, you'll be waiting your whole life. No one's perfect. Okay? Humans are not perfect. We're flawed in one way or another. So don't look at the flaws, but we'll move on to this and we'll look on what to look for in a moment. Also, because we're not perfect, visuals and physical attraction is important, but it's not everything. Okay, so if you're looking at this person and they look absolutely amazing and they're the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life, I can't tell you how many people that I've met like that who look, they're amazing. Perfect body, perfect face, absolutely amazing, but suffer from self-esteem issues, you know? Or it could be a person who's not so desirable, but they still have the same self-consciousness. So it doesn't matter if you're super attractive or not, but it's not that important. So what do you look for then? It's really hard because you're like up in the air. What do I look for? For me, my personal opinion, this may not be 100% correct, and there's a lot more things that you may need to look for depending on your circumstance. But for me, it comes down to core values: honesty, ethics, and how they carry themselves. So let's start with values. Does the person value honesty, for instance? Do they value being honest? If you're with someone that's a liar, it may take you a while to figure that out, or it may be blatantly obvious. But if this person values honesty and they have great ethics, they believe in a certain thing and you believe in the same thing, then you're on the right path. You've got to break down what it is that you're looking for in a person that matches you, and then blend the two together. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be 100% compatible. There's people that are different in all facets of life, but they get along really well. That's fine. And we'll move on to like compromise and bits and pieces soon. But just remember that humans are not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're all going to have our issues. So once you fully understand that, and your partner or this person that you potentially could be being in a relationship with is going through a tough time, just remember that we're not perfect. Okay, we don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but we need to support that person. It's harder than it sounds, but that's what we have to do. So that's number 3. Number 4, find someone who can compromise. Who can compromise, but you must compromise as well. So everyone has their own path. It's as simple as that. I have my own path where I want to go. My partner has her own path, and we work together to get to those goals. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out that well. Sometimes you have totally different paths. This is life. Like, things change. Nothing stays stagnant. Well, it shouldn't. Some people stay stagnant. That's up to them. But you're honestly going to find your path along the way. You're going to change. Things are going to adapt and evolve for you. So you got to be aware of that. But you got to find someone who's willing to compromise. Because most of the time, you're not going to be on the same path all the time. And if you are, fantastic. That's amazing. Well done. But if you're not, you can still make it work. But it relies on the person. Find someone who can compromise. I'll tell you a story. I had some friends of mine. One partner, they wanted to go and work in an isolated area. They were looking for a full-time job there. They were very passionate, very excited about it, right? And then the other partner was just working a basic job in the same town, but they had to move for this job. And the partner who had the job wanted to, or virtually said to the other person, said, well, I'm going here. Either you're coming or you're not. Now, you cannot drag people around, and while the other partner said, yeah, I'll go with you, change their whole life just to suit this person, right, and follow their dreams, or they compromised. But in the long term, that's not going to work because you're living up to someone else's expectations. You're following them on their dream. And in the long run, it didn't work. But you could see that coming. Would you compromise your journey for their journey, or take your journey with you? Things you need to think about. Okay, number 5, and this is the last one in part 1, but it's important as the other 4, and that is teamwork. Relationships are a team effort. It's not one person's role. It is both people. I was at a seminar once and a person asked the question. They said, well, who's the most important person in the relationship? Like, how much do you need to put into a relationship and how much does the other person put in? What's the balance? There's a lot of different answers. Someone said 50%, 50%, 80%, 30%. And the answer is 100% each. It is up to both people to put in 100% each. Because like any great team, there's a lot of things that need to work for the two people to work correctly together. Communication, leadership, faith, trust. If you're missing any one of those four things, or you don't address them at the time, if there's issues and you don't address them, that can spell the end of your relationship due to missing one of those four things or not addressing them quick enough. You know how things stew? Like if you do something, if your partner does something wrong or something that you don't really like, and then you don't bring that up straight away and you sit on it for hell, people sit on it for years, but you can sit on it for 6 months, not worry about it, and then it comes back to haunt you again and again, and then 12 months down the track again, and then another 2 years down the track again, and these things keep coming back. That can ruin your relationship very, very easily. So you've got to be upfront. You got to have honesty. You got to have communication, leadership. Someone's got to lead. If you guys are sitting there and you're trying to figure out what you're going to have for dinner, and what are we having for dinner? Oh, I don't know. You go, oh, I don't know. And it takes you 2 hours to make a decision on dinner. There comes a time where that gets old. Someone has to have direction, faith. You've got to believe in each other. Believe that you will get to the end. No matter what, you can be with this person and you can compromise, be happy, work your way forward, have a future together, have faith that you can work together. The biggest thing is trust, and that's a whole nother subject. But trust is something else, and we will get to that. So they're the first 5 things. That is part 1. Use these 5 subjects to think about, to ponder, to spend some time alone and think about, do you understand yourself? 1. 2, am I rushing into a relationship? Do I know this person that well? Do I know myself that well? 3, humans are not perfect. We're not perfect. So remember that. 4, find someone who can compromise, but you must compromise as well. 5, teamwork. Relationships are about teamwork. Find team-related people, not individuals. So that was part 1, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you in part 2, which you'll find just down here. Thanks a lot, guys.